Moving your face, your scary face, and your face is sharp. Mhm. There you go. Go ahead.
Hello, and welcome to MoB Kaffeeklatsch, episode 140, and enjoy the show.
Thank you, opener. Awesome. Don't knock down the screen. All right. Hello, everyone. Let's see. Get the names out. Everybody's here. Everybody who needs to be here is here. You can see the comments. Hope you guys have your warm beverage or cold. Oh, good morning. Nothing like death wish coffee in the face to wake you up. That'll wake you up for real. All right, let me say hello to everybody. Hello, Chris Mendoza. Connie, welcome. Let's see who else is here. Dawn is here. Good morning, Dawn. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Paige. Marie, good morning. Audrey, good morning. Laura, good morning. Heather, good morning. Let's see who else. Marie, the other Marie. Oh, Marie is here. Okay. Dan, Mr. Awesome. Hello, good morning. All right, everyone. Good morning. You're here. You made it back just in time, Heather. That's right. How is everyone doing today? Heather, if you're making coffee, make sure you bring enough for everyone. All right, I'm here. Dolly's here. Say hi, Dolly.
Hello, everyone.
She's right there. Can't see her, but you can see her. In your hand. Let me see her. The hand. The dolly hand.
You can see the doll.
Look at the dolly hand. It doesn't quite get it. Dolly, but she's right there. I'm not that good a ventriloquist. Sorry, I can't do voices like that. How's everyone today? All right, we're all here. Excellent. Okay. Episode 140. Every time I say the numbers, it just always surprises me. All right, let's do the shout outs. Hello to everyone on YouTube. So that's Connie. I think there's a few people on YouTube. Let's see who's on YouTube. Connie. I only see Connie, but I'm sure there'll be others on YouTube. Hello, Connie. Joe is here. Hello, Joe. I didn't see you. I didn't scroll up far enough. Hello, Joe. Okay. Yeah, it's StreamYard's acting a little laggy today, but not as bad as usual. Is it laggy on your end too? Yeah, it's a little laggy, but So hello everyone on YouTube world. Hello. If you want to find us on YouTube, by now you guys should know this, but I'll say it. But you guys should know this. We're at Ben Peaches Publishing. I still have to do my CWW for today, but I've been doing them regularly, which is good. And we're there. Our presence is growing. We have 140 of these episodes. I think we're at 122 of the CWWs. And so little by little, we're growing, it's baby steps, it's happening, which is awesome. We're on Instagram. I have a new plan for Instagram, so I'll be unveiling that in a week or so. Right now I'm in the middle of, I'm not in the middle? I'm about in the middle, a little bit more than the middle of Mages and Monsters. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. So I'm kind of in the midst of writing projects, so Instagram is going to get some automation happening. I'm trying to figure that out. So yeah, but we're at Instagram at Ben Peaches. You'll find some stuff there from us. Go there and just follow us on Instagram. So at Ben Peaches, share and let everybody know. Same thing with Ben Peaches Publishing on YouTube. Just go to the channel. Even here right now, please give us a like, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the notification bell because every time we do this on YouTube, it helps our algorithm. So it's awesome. More people discover us, which is great. On Zazzle, our Zazzle store, are you guys putting links? I don't see any links. It's really slow. The links will be up in the mob at the end of the show. If there's any link that you want, or you can request a link and we'll find it and we'll put it up for you. But on Zazzle at M&S EMANDES is our store there. We have ultimate swag. Let's see how quickly this takes because what is this? This is the YouTube link. Let's see how long it takes. The YouTube link. The squirrels are tired today. Oh, there it goes. So And that's a nice picture. I like that picture, man. What bridge is that? Nice. That's our YouTube link. So at Ben Peaches Publishing, go there, follow us, share, like, subscribe, comment. All that stuff is welcome on our YouTube link because it helps the algorithm, I guess, discover us more, and then more people find us, and then more people follow, and then more people comment, and it just grows into a larger community, which is awesome. For our Zazzle store, do you have your swag? I'd like to know. Do you have your swag? Let me see if I can get the swag up. The swag link. This is our swag link. Zazzle.com. Our store is M&S. 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 What happened? Oh my God, the link, it went away. So go there, get your swag on. Well, what are you waiting for? There's so much great stuff there. So yeah, there it is. It came back. Yes. So the lead designer has been adding stuff. With every book that we put out, more stuff appears, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So it's pretty awesome. So go to Zazzle. That's the link. Use that reference link, please, because it helps our analytics, and we can kind of keep track of what's happening. And get your stuff. Yeah. So go there. On Instagram, if you haven't followed us on Instagram, and even though we haven't done anything recently on Instagram, it's still awesome for you to follow us and to grow our numbers there as well. This is just a matter of just growing our presence everywhere. So just go there, follow us on Instagram. I promise we'll be doing stuff. I just want to automate some stuff so I can kind of do it fire and forget and just get it done. And that way our presence on Instagram will grow also. So follow us there. That's the Instagram link right there. Let's see. Chris says, I got my new mug. Awesome. And you're waiting on the hat. Fantastic. Heather says, we need to get some handle, my favorite team. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that your handle broke. Yeah, my mug. If I don't have this mug, it's my Iron Man mug. If I don't have this one, I have quite a few backups. Where's my little mug? I should have brought it out. The little mug that Joshua gave me for my birthday. Oh, forget it. It's buried. I'll bring it out for the next show. It's like this big. So yeah. Get the MoB sweatshirt. It's nice. We have a lot of really awesome swag at the store. So get your swag on, okay? Let's see. It helps us out. It helps out, everything that we're doing. Okay, let's go down. Let's read let me hide this. Let me hide this. Okay. Patreon. We have new patrons. Oh, awesome. Okay, we have Mary Pinto, Barbara Taylor, and Joyce Casement. I want to say Casement. Is that how it says? Casement or Casement? If it's French. I'm going to say Casement. And I apologize if I'm mangling your last name, Joyce. Thank you to these new patrons who've gone above and beyond. And you guys, all the patrons, I want to just give a huge shout out and thank you to all you patrons who support us. Here's the patron link. I'm not getting emotional, just my nose. It's like the patrons, thank you so much. If you haven't followed us on Patreon, what are you waiting for? We have a tier that's free. You can just go follow us. You get previews of the stories. You get some really cool perks. If you increase your tier and you go up a little higher, you get even more amazing stuff. So it's really just do it. You don't have to think about it. Just go to Patreon. There's the link. Join up. There's been Peaches Publishing. We have, I don't know, at this point, there's 14 something stories, 15, 20. I forgot the number. How many stories do we have? You gotta have this number ready. Blah, blah, blah. We have blah, blah, blah numbers, the stories ready. I guess we could talk about that right now. No, I'll talk about it a little later. We'll do the updates. Okay. We have our position always, as you guys know, always, is that we support indie authors, right? I'm a big advocate of indie authors and supporting them and getting their voices heard. I myself am an indie author. I started out traditionally and I got rejected a few times, and Not that I don't take rejection well, but I started thinking about the plus and cons, or pros and cons of publishing, and for me, it was a matter of control, because as an indie author, you control your cover, you control your editing, you control your formatting, you control your marketing, you control you control pretty much everything. Now, that's not for you. You want to seek the traditional route, because the traditional publishing handles all that for you. If you feel you can tackle all of that and do it well, or as well as a traditional house, then I suggest the indie route. But the indie route's not easy. People think I can just self-publish. It's not that easy. There's a lot that goes into that. We can discuss it later on. Let me just promote our indie author. Our indie author this week is, see if we can show. Come on, StreamYard, it's coming. Slowly. The squirrels are running down the track. Let's go. There it is, slowly but surely. John Corwin, Dead to Rights, a vigilante mystery action thriller, Amos Carver book 8, I'm guessing. That's the link. And John Corwin writes the Cthulhu stuff. He was writing the Cthulhu stories, and he gave Mountain Strong a huge shout out early on, so I really appreciate that from him. And this is mostly recent books, so please go out, get this book. As always, we support our indie authors. So, this link will be up in the mob at the end of the show. Okay, here we go. I'm going to take down because it takes forever according to the way our internet is acting today. There it goes, slowly fading out. Okay, as it says, reference to Dex and Nana's upcoming adventure. I just want to see Nana pulling out the rhinestone Dame Edna glasses. I don't know if she has a pair. I'll think about it. But that's not the story that won. So we'll have to discuss that in the rest of the show as to what is in the updates, what's coming up next. Okay. All right. So we promoted our authors. Our shout outs are done for now. Welcome, Richard. Hello. Welcome. I know you're on YouTube, so welcome. How is everyone doing? I'm currently in the midst, deep in the weeds of mages and monsters. So my brain is, let's see, where's my brain currently these days? It's, okay, I've been doing some crazy research on B-2 bombers, B-21 raiders. If you know, it's the ship that looks, it's the plane that looks like a flying wing, and it's like a wedge. So that's one of the new planes that Cecil has a design for Sunatran to transport Monty and Simon to the Black Forest. And then I've been researching the Black Forest and cuckoo clocks and why it's called the Black Forest and how that goes back to Roman times and what are the borders of the Black Forest and how the Black Forest, part of the Black Forest touches on France and then part of it touches on Germany. And it's like in the midst of Germany and all the neighborhoods. And it's a lot of work. So I've always said, when you become an author and you're writing like this, you've given yourself, been hiding features. There he goes. You've given yourself homework for life. So I've been doing a lot of Black Forest research. It's just like, wow, a lot. And so at this point, I was telling Chris earlier, I can give you a tour of certain parts of the Black Forest from the airport to the middle of the Black Forest. I can get us lost in the Black Forest. Getting out of the Black Forest, I have no idea how to get back out, but I can tell you how to get in to Newhouse and Herrenweiss, which is a town near the Black Forest where the guys go, and it's integral to the story. I can tell you that. But other than that, I can get you lost in the Black Forest right now. That's basically it. Yes, Marie, actually the Black Forest is really interesting. I'll give you one tidbit. It's called the Black Forest, not because it's a Black Forest, but because it's so thick with trees. When the Romans first saw, this goes back, way back. When the Romans first saw the forest, it was so thick with trees that it was dark, it was black. And they named it the Schwarzwald, which is the Black Forest. And that name stuck. And it is really thick with trees and it has mountains. It's if you ever get a chance to go to a really interesting place, and it gets cold in the winter. It's easy from what I can see from my venturing through Google Maps. It's really easy to get lost because there are a lot of hiking trails, but it's really thick in there. It's really like I've been walking through the Black Forest virtually. It's it's easy to get lost. Easy to get lost. You can get lost in the forest here. Morning, Wendy. In a forest like the Black Forest, where the trees really are, it's like thick. Um, yeah, it's surprisingly easy to get turned around because there are no real landmarks that you can follow, and even if you have a compass, it's easy to get lost there. Really easy. So the guys aren't going to get lost. So well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but yeah, things are going to happen in the Black Forest before they even get to Shadow Peak, which is the estate they have to get to. So there's a lot happening, and yeah, I got about a week. So yeah, let's see what Dan says. Richard, yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you're looking forward to the next M&S. Me too. Dan says, in the quiet between the storm of new stories, I did my yearly read of Warriors of the Way. Awesome. That's like we should make that like a tradition. Then I realized I hadn't gotten around to reading Fate of the Dark Mages. How could you not? Dan, that's the romantasy stuff, which I started today. My question is, do I recognize the name Archon Quinn as he popped up with a different name in a different series? Vague, in case of spoil. I'm not even, I can neither confirm nor deny. How's that? Whitney says, it's the stuff of nightmares. I'm gonna have Simon make so many Hansel and Gretel jokes that Monty's gonna blast him with an orb. Yeah. So Richard asked, "What's my next release?" Mages and Monsters will be coming out early in April, so that's the next release. And then after that, the production schedule. As I look to the production schedule, newly formed production schedule, it is packed from now until October. I can read you the production schedule. I can give you some clues. So we have April, Mayish, Stone, and Pain Eaters. Pain Eaters is Division 13 novella. Stone is the second book in the John Kane. Then after that we have Brew and Chew and Deadeye. Deadeye is another M&S, and Brew and Chew is with the Cold Girl with Cece and now Peanut. And Peaches, of course. That's the whole crew. After that, it's Mistaken Identity, which is Bangers and Mash. I've been dying to get back to them. That's July sometime. And Divine Hell. So that's the next Night Warden story, which is going to be ooh. Then Comedy of Errors, but Errors is spelled E-R-A. So yeah. And Nemesis, which is another M&S. The Nemesis, I don't even want to talk about that because it's going to be so interesting. That's another Mountain Strong. Then Cold Girl, Frozen Fire, which is the next Fate of the Dark Mages. That's in September. And Vector Kill, which is Gideon Shepherd. If you guys remember Gideon Shepherd, they're coming back. And Chaos Rising is the next Mountain Strong in November. So you got a mix of everything in there. You got John Kane, you got Division 13, you got Brew and Chew, you've got Mountain Strong, you got Bangers and Mash, you've got Fate of the Dark Mages, and you got Gideon Shepherd. All of those this whole year is going to be kind of a mix of everything. Uncomfortable question. Were any of Monty's family not on the right side during World? No, they were all on the right side because, first of all, mages don't try not to get involved in wars, like human wars, but they were on the right side. And there's a reason why Shadow Peak was placed in Germany, in the Black Forest. There's a reason. It's explained in the book. Yeah, it's going to be busy, which is good. It's going to be really crazy busy, which is fantastic. So there's a lot of writing. Archon Quinn is not a lizard, Dan. No. So, and I'm not discussing that anymore. So, yeah, welcome, Anne. Welcome. Good morning. So it's a little bit, and it's interesting because yeah, as Dolly and I were going over it, it's interesting how we arrange the production schedule because it's a mix of everything, basically. You know, that was awesome. It was inadvertent, but it was awesome. So yeah. Was it inadvertent? I thought it was inadvertent. It felt inadvertent, yeah, but it wasn't. Okay. According to Dolly, it was not inadvertent. It was planned. Was it planned? Okay. So there's a little bit of everything in there, with the majority being Monty and Strong, because I would say Monty Strong is the engine, the trunk of the tree. Yeah. Was Merlin a mage? I would have to say Merlin is a mage. I might get hate for this, but yeah, I think for me, Merlin was more of a mage because, and I actually had this conversation with Steve McHugh, because if you ever read Steve McHugh, he's the Hellhound Chronicles, and he deals with magic, uses kind of like the way I do, but he has his own magic system, and we both agree that Merlin leans closer to being a mage than a wizard. So yeah, see. It's okay, Dan. You can ask questions. I'm just joking with you, but definitely some. The thing is that a question like that pulls on threads that I can't pull on right now, not yet. So yeah, that's the only thing. But yeah, Archon Quinn is going to be an interesting character in that series, so I can't get too much into it. Excuse me. But yes, you could definitely ask questions, and of course, Silk questions are always welcome until he makes his appearance, his grand appearance in the M&S World. I almost said the MCU. That's what it feels like. All right, so let's get to the update since it's almost 12 and I do not know where the time went. Okay, we have Mages and Monsters. So I've been discussing that Mages and Monsters has me in the midst of Germany and flying, and I've learned how fixed wing planes, or so fixed wing planes are like the flying wings, and they're amazing planes. They have their drawbacks, but for the most part, they're really amazing planes. I'm gonna try not to destroy this one because Cecil will be very upset. But how fixed wing planes work it's really interesting, and I've been taking liberties with TARDIS-like properties, so where things are bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. What does Anthony say? Are B&M secret members of the 10, the two you call when you want to know the enemy? No. But I'm going to have a lot of fun with B&M. So in this next story, which is called Mistaken Identity, they're going to get mistaken for Monty and Simon. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, so no, they're not secret members of the 10. Not even in their wildest dreams would I think they'd be allowed into the 10. But they do drive a Sunatran vehicle, which is pretty cool. Not that Cecil will ever admit to giving them a Sunatran vehicle called the Pumpkin. Never in a million years would he admit to creating that. So yeah, so the Shrike, which is the new plane that Cecil has created and ruined for the guys and he uses, is it has TARDIS-like properties. So it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And Simon calls it, was it designed by Escher Aeronautics, because it's just like it hurts his brain to look at the dimensions inside. So you'll see that repeated a lot in this story, where there's a lot of things that look a certain dimension on the outside, and inside it's like, whoa. Yeah. I'm so behind on reading. You'll circle the sun twice before I catch up. No. Listen, there's no rush. Take your time. Do what you got to do. Life happens. And, I write because, one, I want to write, and two, the stories have to be told. But there's no pressure on reading at a certain pace. You just read. That's all. One of my older boys is like, I'm like 10 books behind. Like, yeah, by the time you get around to it, you'll still be 10, 11 books behind. So it's the way it is. Here's Pumpkin creaking back into shape after the count. Yeah, it's a Sunatran vehicle, so it's very resilient, Yeah, it's amazing. So I didn't go into, I try not to go into too much detail on the plane because I had to get them to the Shadow Peak. I had to get them to actual Germany, and they were on the plane for the longest time, and they did a few things on the plane itself. But I was having so much fun on the plane, and I'm like, oh wait, the story, we got to move the story to, like, we got to actually land this thing and actually get out and encounter what they got to encounter, right? But I had a lot of fun on the plane, and I did a lot of research. Some of it will show in the story, but hopefully not too much. I try not to do info dumps. But I learned about the Kármán line, which is really amazing. The Kármán line is where the atmosphere ends on the Earth. It's a line that was named after a scientist, something Mr. Kármán. And basically, the Kármán line is where space starts. It's like 62 miles above the Earth. That's where the Kármán line is on our planet. And so the Shrike doesn't have enough thrust to go to it. No plane does. You need a rocket to get up there. Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting plane, that one that you're mentioning, Wendy. Yeah. So so I learned a lot of stuff that I tried to include in the story, but not overdo it. But I realized at one point, okay, we got to move on. We got to get them to Germany, and we got to get into the Black Forest, and they've got to encounter things in the Black Forest. And so you have to have other good authors so that you have something good to read. There are plenty, a multitude of good authors out there. Like the ones that we showcase, the ones that we discuss. There's so many good authors out there. I'm one in like the needle in a haystack. I'm one in the midst of so many. There's so many good ones. I'm currently reading because I'm not gonna do what I did with Saints and Monks. I'm currently reading Martha Wells, which is Murderbot, and she writes amazing sci-fi, which is as far away from Monty and Strong as possible, which is great because I need to keep my brain spaces separate when I'm writing a story. So Murderbot is perfect because sci-fi works for my brain. When I'm writing the black text, I'll read some urban fantasy or something because I can't do both. I can't read it and write it at the same time. Apparently, my brain doesn't like doing that. It's amazing. But yeah. So let's see updates. So the art opens on the 7th of April. That's a little late. I added another week because I wanted to flesh out some things in Mages and Monsters. So the art opens April 7th, and then you have that week till probably the 11th, and then it'll be out live probably the 12th or 14th, around there. Maybe if not sooner. So guys, get yourselves ready for that art because it's going to be fun. The Bureau, which is the Patreon story, that's only a Patreon story, so I apologize if you're not in Patreon. But the Bureau comes out, the finale comes out at the end of the month. Okay, that story was just long, the Bureau. It was good, but it was long. And so at the end of March, so in a week or so, geez, no, today's the 28th. In a few days, a week or so. In a few days, the Bureau finishes and comes out, and the Patreon people, you guys all get that story. And the next story, which is for Cecil's story, the Sinatron story, the origin of Sinatron, that comes out in April. So there was a poll, and we asked all of you, especially we asked the Patreon members, what story did they want to see first? Not to choose between two stories because they're both going to come out, just the order. And it was between Cecil's origin story and Dex and Nana Go Shopping. And I thought it was going to be Dex and Nana, honestly. I really thought it was going to be Dex and Nana Go Shopping because that sounds like a lot of fun. It ended up being Cecil and Sinatron, so the origin of Sinatron. So really short, that one won. So that one got written first, and that one's ready. It'll be ready. You guys can have it in April, which is awesome. And then I'll work on Dex and Nana moving through the moving market and trying to buy, and Nana dragging Dex along to buy some stuff, and Dex being a cranky, cantankerous old mage, not wanting to go on a shopping trip, and Nana dragging him to a shopping trip against his will. And of course, they go to the outer rings of the moving market, which are the most dangerous ones, and they get confused for just regular old mages and senior citizens, and someone makes a bad mistake with that. So yeah, it's gonna be fun because they have really interesting chemistry. Which what story was it with Dex and Nana got together? we got? Let's see. There's been so many.
Even actual MS book.
Yeah, well, Dex went to homecoming, right? Because he went to England. Yeah, he went to England. Dex went to England with the guys, with M&S, and Nana was there, right? When she does her Phoenix Fist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's England homecoming. That's the last time Dex and Nana got together. And then Nana supposedly died, but then she supposedly dies every few years anyway. So that's Dex is gonna give us some grief about that. So you're supposed to be dead. She said, I am. We need to go shopping. So, and most men hate shopping. I won't say hate. Maybe hate's too strong a word. Most men dislike shopping, right? So the Dex is gonna fit into that kind of stereotype of like, I don't need to go shopping. I go in, I get what I want, and I get out. Why am I going to be walking around the store? And so it's stuff like that, you know. So yeah, so it's gonna fit into those kind of two stereotypes where women love to shop and men don't like to shop, and they're kind of both set in their ways. But you know, it's fun. It's gonna be a really fun story. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And so that's the next story that's coming, and I'll be writing it at some point in the future. Okay, so we're not getting to the questions yet, but there was something in the question post that I want to address. So in the question post, I did something that I rarely do, which is I put up a picture of Gray and Coda. It's not there it is, yeah. With Divine Hell, which is the Night Warden novel. And people lost their minds. They're like, oh my God, another Night Warden book. Oh no. Oh. And like, yes, there's another Night Warden book. But the reason why I don't put up pictures with titles on them is for that reason, because the question post got filled with when is it coming out? When's the next book? When's the next Night Warden book? Which is awesome. I think that's great. But Divine Hell, which is the next Gray and Coda book, the next Night Warden book, comes out in the middle of the year. Just to let everyone know. So if you're not here in the MoB Kaffeeklatsch, you won't find this out because I'm not going to say it in the MoB. But yes, Monty is a war mage. What is his title and rank? Can't wait for the Cecil book. War mage is his title. He's a battle mage, and that's what he is. He's a battle mage. I don't think I designed the title for Monty because most of his operations were disavowed or like black ops. So he worked under decks during the war, and they didn't work with titles that way. But his official war name is Banshee because of his swords, and the swords, the sorrows, scream. So you know they wail, and those are the swords that Simon called the crybabies. So that's basically what. But he doesn't really have an official title because he wasn't an official anything during the war. So yes, that's what, he's a battle mage. And war mage, and there's an actual book named War Mage that we have, right? War Mage. You may want to think about that for the current project. Nana handing a dragon a hard candy at the movie market. Yeah, that would not be good. But there's nothing too hard for a dragon in that sense. Hello, Michelle. Welcome. Men are more goal oriented when they shop. I think it's just that they go in with a goal. They're not just more goal. They know exactly what they want to get, and so we kind of just beeline to what we want, and we get right out. Women are, like, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Women are. I have one woman right next to me, ready to correct. But women are looking for the best deals, and so they will travel the store, finding the best deals. Wait, here it comes. Here it comes. So go.
All right. Have you ever gone to a kid's clothing store, like a children's place, or you look at the sections, even when they're little? Do you notice how much more clothing and choices they have for little girls versus little boys? It starts off early.
Right.
So when you guys get into the store as men, you have a little section of clothes.
The men's section is
like,
small, right?
What are colors do you even have?
We have colors.
Gray,
yeah.
Black. Well,
we have the basic colors.
Whole spectrum of colors.
This is true.
We've got all the possible styles, magnified times 100.
Yes.
So we have to choose between 10 things, while you guys would have to choose between 2.
Yes. And that was the little parentheses of the explanation. Also, men's brains are different than women's. Okay, we like to have simple choices. Boom, we go there. Women like to have the array of choices to choose from.
We don't want to.
Huh?
That's what the consumerist industry is pushing upon us since we're babies.
I feel for you.
Thank you.
I feel for you. I can tell that they don't want to. When they go into the store and pick and stay in there and go over and over picking. I can tell this is totally against their will. Whereas men are forced to just go pick between 3 colors. We get it. Um, so his position was something Bellum. I think that was in No God. Is it No God is Safe? A War Mage. It's probably in War Mage. I have to look it up, but it's definitely explained more in War Mage for sure. But his code name is Banshee. Yes, because his swords do that screaming thing. A clash between the movie market and Amazon Prime would be the cause of the second supernatural war. I don't know about that. I think the movie market has definite advantages there, Anthony. The movie market could be anywhere in any plane, and the movie market's staff are much more dangerous than Amazon, and their clientele are much more dangerous than Amazon. So yeah, so that's just I don't think there's any competition between the movie market, but it'd be good to see Tessa racked again. So I'm looking forward to writing that story. I haven't brought her in the story ever since she was kind of banished out. Like Dex gave her an ultimatum, like, or get dead kind of thing. So yeah, so to address the whole thing about the cover / preview banner on the question post, Divine Hell will be in June, July, around there, around that time of the year. Yes, it's a lot of wisdom there. I don't even go into that because yeah, she's right. A lot of choices, more choices. Starts at childhood, babyhood, basically, and that's just the way it is. It's a consumer thing, right? It's a consumer thing. Mary Beth, thank you so much for popping in. Have a great weekend and counterpoint installed. Okay. Have fun. Have a great weekend. Okay. Thank you for coming by and saying hello, Mary Beth. And have a great weekend. Yeah. I'm gonna stay with that. So that's what's happening. I'm looking forward to finishing Stone because Blur took so long to get back into the John Kane story, and then I kept pushing it off and pushing it off. This is already 2 books I put it off, right? Because I put it off to Shield Bearers, Saints and Monks, and now Ladies and Monsters. Yeah. So I pushed it off like 2, 3 books. Yeah. 6 months. Yeah, so about 3 books. 9 months? No, not 9 months. It's been a while, but I'm anxious to get back into Stone and finish that off. And I really want to finish Pain Eaters because it goes back to Division 13, which is Ronin, and I like that character. It's a lot of fun. And the video and sound are cracking like crazy. Is anyone else having difficulty? Yeah, you hear it fine? Maybe because you're sitting right next to me. Dolly says that her video and audio is crystal clear because she happens to be 1.5 feet away from me. So, yeah, you woke up funny. You woke up this morning and chose bye, Marie. Is Marie leaving? I guess Marie's leaving. I'm sorry, guys, that if the technical situation. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I hope this technical fixes itself. We're gonna have to, I don't know if we'll do some extensive testing. Yeah. Okay. There's some interference there. I figured the wind. Yeah, it's always something. We haven't perfected this stuff yet. There's lagging, there's popping. Not on my end so much. There is some lagging, but we'd have to get like a dedicated satellite just for us. That would be awesome. The M&S satellite. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we kind of touched upon all this stuff, and I kind of went over the production schedule. So who's Ravens there? Hello, Ravens there. Yeah, there's definitely some lagging. Welcome, Ravens there. Oh, she's not giving me squint eye. She doesn't give me squint eye because then she won't see me. So she can't give me squint eye. She's not gonna give me squint eye. What I wanted to discuss. Oh, we got to get to the questions soon. We got about 5 minutes before we get to the questions soon. But what I wanted to discuss was kind of morning Ravens there. Yeah, I was like more. Okay, Ravens there. So welcome. What I wanted to discuss is how we, as authors, but I guess it's gonna have to be for another show because it's a big topic. How we arrange our production schedules, how we arrange our like I have the whole year planned out, and I kind of do the same thing with the range Doctor Design with the covers. Although this year, all those well, no, not all because we do have to do the Bangers and Mash cover, right? Yeah, and the Frozen Fire, right? There are a few covers we have to get, but usually, oh, take care, Richard. T-Mobile Tuesday movie going to see a Working Man. I hear it's good. I don't know. I haven't seen any trailers yet, but I hear it's good. So enjoy, Richard. Oh, that's even better. Enjoy your date with the wife. That's always a nice thing. So I try to plan the year ahead because it's important just for my brain, the way my brain works. But I started thinking that maybe other authors could kind of get a behind the scenes. And I was meaning to write this post. So I think I'll join these two together, how the production schedules are created and how the stories are written. And I think that would be a good kind of series of posts to put in the MoB, just so you guys can see how kind of like how the sausage is made and get a little bit of an insight, at least for my process, because obviously my process isn't the way it's done for everyone, right? So we'll be discussing that, and I think we should get into the questions before. I don't want to run too over today, right? Okay, so let's get into questions. So the first question that's addressed is when does Divine Hell has come out? When does Divine Hell come out? And it's gonna be in July of this year. So that's the first question because that's the question three people ask. Okay. But Audrey has her questions and she's keeping her streak going, which is awesome. Her first question, and thank you Audrey for your questions because they are awesome. Her first question is, how do you deal with woulda, coulda, shoulda when it comes to already published books? Okay, let me deal with that first because that's a good question. I try not to do woulda, coulda, shouldas on, and what that means is like I try not to go back and revisit already published books because any book that I've already published, I could easily go in and try and fix it. There are a whole bunch of things I could add and things I could take out or things I could switch around. And I try to leave it alone. So this is why I've never gone back to rewrite Warriors of the Way. That first series, because it needs to stay the way it is. And I'm not going to go into that because right now I'm a different writer. This is what happened to me with Sepia Blue, that it was a 4-year gap between book 3 and book 4. And it was just a nightmare. No pun intended. It was a nightmare to go back in there and finish the story. And I really wanted to finish the story. But to go back, I had to go back to the writer that I was 4 years prior and bring that writer to the present and then write the way I would write now. And it was very different. The writing was different because I had grown as a writer. I had changed. I was a different person. And so I try not to go into the woulda, coulda, shoulda situations with writing old like published stories because I change. I evolve as a writer. And some things I would say I wouldn't say, or some things I wouldn't say I would say, and so I leave it alone. The second part of this question is: do you look back at your character and say maybe he should have? All the time. There's things that I would have had Simon do differently in certain parts, and there's things that I would have added or adjusted, but What came out in that time when I wrote the story and then it got published with that in it, I'm going to leave it alone. And there are through lines in the like in the Monty and Strong series that are there that you don't realize until many books later that started early, that don't come out until many books later. That if I change something early on, it changes the entire series, or add something that I didn't add, and that because the series is written as one continuous series, if I were to adjust something, let's say in book 10 or 12, I'd have to adjust in both directions. Right? I'd have to go to one, and I'd have to go forward to 26 is where we're at, or 27. And so I don't want that's too much work. So no, I'd rather just write it the way I'm gonna write it and not worry about this character should have done that. Would I add something? Would I try to retcon something in now? I don't know. It depends on the character. It depends on what the situation is. Depending on that, I might, but I don't see it happening. It's a great question though. 'Cause I'm sure a lot of authors see their published works and go, "Oh, I would love to change this and that." And you can theoretically. It's harder for me in a series like Monty and Strong. If it's a one-off or a standalone, I think I could do that. But in a series like Mountain Strong, I wouldn't do it because there's too many. First, there are too many characters in M&S, like throughout the series, and there are too many threads all over. It's like a web now. When it was one book, two books, three books, okay, but it's 27 books now, and it's stuff. You pull on this thread, and you whether you want to or not, you're going to touch all different areas, different threads everywhere. So I leave that alone. On other series, even the shorter series, like the, the Stray Dogs and things like that, they're all connected to other things, and so it's like one big world. You touch something here, you put something here, you adjust something here, you're gonna end up adjusting everywhere. So it's better to leave it alone. Okay. Um, so writing is monetized God tier, multiple personality disorder, hallucinating alternate realities and sending it to paper. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And what I've said is there's a shelf life on that, Anthony. So as the writer gets older, the filter between the writing world and reality thins, and so writers eventually go insane and can't tell between can't tell between reality and fantasy, and they blur and they become one. So you gotta get the writing quick. But that's basically it. Yeah, let's say Raven's Nest and the retconning is such a pain in the ass. Yeah, you have to consider all the fallout along the way. It's like writing time travel, which I've been staying away from, but I have a story that I have to do eventually, maybe next year, because my year right now is booked. But if the character that I have that is responsible for time travel, which is Sid, um, yeah, it's time travel is such a thorny thing to write. It's involved. You got to get it right, and if you mess it up, you mess up everywhere. So yeah, it's time travel. Tough. I've seen authors who do it well. I've seen authors who haven't done it well. It's a hard subject to tackle, and you got to do it in a way that doesn't intrude into the stories that you have written. And so with Sid, I've kind of injected him at certain parts in certain stories. And if you look around, he's like my Stan Lee. He's kind of everywhere. And so when I finally actually write the story with Sid and Nina, who's the main character of the designers, I have to be really careful not to completely upheave all the other series because of what Sid can do, which is why I've been staying away from the story because I'm researching it more. Like I said, time travel for me is like it's a great topic, but it's also a hard one. Yeah, the wrong pull string unravels the whole universe, and then you get an angry mob on my 6. I don't want an angry mob on my 6, so I'm not pulling those wrong strings. Oh, you bet even your siblings stare at you. Yeah, everybody stares at you. So no. Retconning and time travel, no. Frame's going back to fix his. Frank's going. I don't know if Frame is going back to fix his. No, No one can go back to fix their mishaps. That's the whole thing with. So okay, I'll give you one of the parameters for time travel is that if you're going to write time travel, you have to set the rules early on, like immediately, and then you stick to those rules. So you have to. So I have them. I'm not going to share them now because they're still kind of fluid. But you have to have certain rules, and then you have to stick to those rules through your story. The moment you mess up and kind of try to adjust those rules, your whole story falls apart. And with a character like Sid, not only does it fall apart, it falls apart and messes and has collisions with stories everywhere else. So it becomes like a what if. If you ever read Marvel, what if? And what if this character did that in a different parallel universe? Or if you ever heard about the multiverse, it starts becoming something like that, and it gets unruly and big. And yeah, yeah, Frank is not gonna be able to fix his screw up, even though he may want to. He can't because he's blocked into that body, and then there's a reason for it, but that has to be discussed in the Night Warden stories, and it will be because it will be. Actually, it's even touched upon a bit in Mages and Monsters, so we're getting to that for sure. All right, Dolly, your question. Are you ready? Drum roll. If you had to be stuck in a TV show for 1 month, which one would it be?
Maybe Buffy?
Buffy. As who? Buffy?
As Buffy. Get to slash steak.
So you would be stuck in Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Buffy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She stays alive. So.
Oh yeah, she does stay alive. You got plot armor. You got plot armor. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, I can see that for sure. Great, that's a good one. That's a good pick, Buffy. And she stays alive. I like that the criteria. She stays alive. Okay, Orlando. That's a great question. Thank you, Audrey. Orlando, next question. Who is the most embarrassing person you had a crush on growing up? I wasn't okay.
Hello.
Oh, I don't. Honestly, I didn't have crushes. I was the crushee. People had crushes on me. Okay. I just didn't really. That wasn't who I was. I wasn't like that. I didn't have crushes on girls and people. If I had a crush on someone in school, I would go up to insult them. So I never really had crushes, and I never was really like a teen fanatic that I would go after like stars and things like that. I could admire people, but I never had crushes on them.
That's such a cop out answer.
Not a cop out. It's the truth.
So you don't have crushes. What? You just fall straight in love.
First of all, let me explain how this works. Okay, I didn't have crushes. People had crushes on me. Okay, I was walking around blissfully unaware that people had crushes on me because my interests were completely different from the norm. So I was involved in Dungeons and Dragons and comics and other things. I wasn't thinking about movie stars or songs, people, singers or things like that. It was just my world, my focus was in a whole different dimension. So I didn't have crushes. I didn't have idols. I didn't have none of that.
Pinup models?
No pinup models, nothing. None of that.
What posters you have in your room?
I had Frank Frazetta posters. Frank Frazetta, Conan. I had Marvel posters.
Did you have a crush on Wonder Woman?
No, not even. And I grew up with Wonder Woman on TV with original Wonder Woman. I forgot her name. Linda something. Yeah, and I grew up with that. I grew up with her, and I didn't have a crush on her because I was like, yeah. She's not that. She wasn't that strong on TV, and she wasn't that spectacular on TV. So, you want to live on top of a hellmouth? Is that what you want to live? Buffy lives on top of a hellmouth. I was a classic nerd for sure. I was a classic nerd, and then when I finally did start speaking to girls, right? I was already past that whole phase of having crushes on people. If I liked someone, I'd go speak to them. Period. That's it. And if they didn't like me, okay, they didn't like me. So what? Yeah, and I moved on. I was a very strange young man, nerd. Plus, I was okay. Not only was I a nerd, but I was also an athlete. I was on track. I was on varsity track. I was on varsity handball. So I was heavily into my sports. So I didn't really have time. If the person that I was interested in didn't enjoy the things that I did, I didn't really have time for that. Linda Carter, there you go. That's who it was. So that was who I was. And then I got into martial arts, and then it was even more like I'm into my martial arts. I don't got time for that. I got time for all this, for the drama, you know. So yeah, there were no women posters. I was definitely into Frank Frazetta. I was into um there was a contemporary Boris Vallejo. So I was into that. I was into some really kind of obscure comics like Dark Horse comics and not the usual Marvel DC. I would find like other comics that were like not mainstream because the artists were so good. And then I was also into Star Trek and Star Wars and things like that. I was the definition of a nerd slash geek because then when computers came in, because I predate computers, so when computers came in, I started getting into programming and how games were made, and I was one of the first persons who was playing Zork, and it was all text based games. You had to actually read everything, and then I would create my own like little Zork like games, So my brain didn't have the bandwidth to be worrying about girl drama because I was busy doing other things. I didn't have time for girl drama. I didn't even go like when my friends would go have parties or because of the age I am, because where I grew up, I was on the cutting edge of when hip hop was formed, and we would have DJ parties. So I saw all these really well known DJ and rappers when they were doing house parties because we'd go to house parties, and I saw LL Cool J when he would go to house parties, and now he's a big rapper and all this stuff. So my childhood was a very interesting, diverse, multifaceted type of you know combination of really interesting things that I don't think you could do that now. Like I also grew up with Dungeons and Dragons models and building like towns and things like that, and Esther's glue. If you guys remember how that thing spelled, would knock you out. Model airplanes. I used to build model airplanes. I used to build model tanks. So I was doing a lot of war stuff. I had phases, which is awesome. Yeah, exactly. I went from building models to building computers. My first computer was a 486 with 400 millibytes of RAM. 400 megabytes. Sorry, 400 megabytes of RAM. That was considered the huge closet of memory. 400 megabytes back then. 400 megabytes. I have 400 megabytes. Like my phone has gigabytes right now. It was crazy. So whole different. And I remember building my first Pentium, which is insane. When Pentium was big, I built the first one. That I got the parts from this place in Tempe, Arizona. They sent it to me, and I built it, motherboard, everything in pieces, and I put it together. So different kind of childhood. Girls were not part of the equation. Put it that way. I didn't really get interested in girls until much later, And then by that time I was already older and I was already more established, and then they were more interested in me than I was in them. So it's like, still there. There was this one. So I used to fucking reading here. Heavy metal. When heavy metal came out, right? There was this one artist that was amazing. He was drawing this robot. I forgot the robot's name, but I'll have to find it. But geez, I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna find out who it was. House parties were the bomb. I remember one time. Okay, so I'll give you an example if we have time. So one time I threw a house party one summer. My mom went to the Dominican Republic, and she took my sister and my brother, left me alone because I was old enough, right? And I said, I don't want to go to DR. I don't want to go to the Dominican Republic. I'm gonna stay home. And because I was the angel, my mom trusted me, which might have been a mistake. She trusted me to stay home in New York by myself while she went with my two younger siblings to DR. I threw a house party. First of all, I know everyone in my neighborhood. I knew everyone. So it was not just a house party, it was a block party. It started in the apartment and it spread out into the street. Police were called. It was like an enormous thing. I'll put it to you how bad it was, how crowded the house was. Yeah, Jim Starlin, but it's another artist. I'll get to in a second. Um, the party was so crowded that the paint in the apartment peeled. I had to repaint the apartment because people were. It was so crowded. It was so hot. It was summer. People were leaning on the walls, and paint was peeling off because there was just so too many people in the apartment. The police came. The fire department came because we had too many people. It was a fire hazard. It was danger, and it was we had speakers this like 6 foot speakers spread out throughout the house, blasting music everywhere. It was crazy, and I had to repaint the apartment, get kind of speak to all my neighbors so that when my mom came back, they didn't kind of tell her. So that was the kind of thing I did once I really got out there. Okay, yeah, I started with a 386. I graduated to a 486, and then I went to a Pentium, and I overclocked the Pentium because it was still too slow for the things that I wanted to do. I added cooling fans. I, I hotwired that thing, and I stopped building computers a long time ago. I didn't have the time, and getting stuff into it was like it was too much. But yeah. Okay, so most of your guy mob members have a similar mega nerd background. How did I woo Dolly? You know, um, my awesomosity was just out there. If she saw me and she couldn't resist. Is that what happened?
Exactly.
There you go. See? Backs me up. Heather says, I remember when Tandy computers were the edge. Yeah, Tandy was big in the computing world. Yeah, it was a party that people to this day, Chris, still talk about that party. Okay, this robot. I'm trying to think. Um, Abraxas. Oh, that was a fantastic story. Abraxas and the Earth. And that was like to this day, that's one of the best stories. You're right. To this day, this robot. So I remember Den from Heavy Metal, right? Biceps. I still have them. Let's see. Geez, it was a kind of round. So the robot itself was round shaped. It featured in Heavy Metal. It's the same artist who did Den, right? And he was kind of roundish, so there weren't any hard edges to him. But I can't remember for the life of me. I can't remember his name, but I'm going to find out who it was because it was a fantastic artist and the stories were awesome. And it was like a one syllable name, so I'll have to figure it out. Did you get a Hercules Code math? No, I didn't actually. No, no, I did not. Most of the stuff I learned in computing, I taught myself. I taught myself Fortran. I taught myself COBOL. I taught myself Pascal. All these languages no longer being used at all. I taught myself BASIC and DOS. I was using all those languages on my own, and I learned them pretty much by myself. I was taking apart computers in school when they started putting computer labs in school. I would go in there into the coding and start taking it apart. And so I would get in trouble that way with a few of my friends. Like I said, I was involved in so many different weird circles, like not weird, but diverse circles that didn't really overlap with each other. Corbin, that sounds interesting. That sounds close. Yeah, it might. Yeah, I might have to look into that for sure because Corbin sounds familiar. I don't remember the robot's name, but I'll remember it. I will, because my brain has so much stuff in it. I'll have to just sift through the filters, and I'll find it though. But it was a great story and a great character. The robot was a great character. And the reason I remember it because I had a really good friend who was an artist who died when we were in high school who loved this artist and this character. So that always stayed with me. And his name was Jose. He was a great artist. And we knew he was going to go far. And then he got hit by a bus. He was 16. And that splintered our friendship, our friend group, because he was kind of the glue that kept all of us together, this one group that we had. And that was really hard blow to take at 16 when one of your best friends gets hit by a bus and gets killed. That was whoa. But these are things that happen in life. So I did not have a crush growing up. Yeah. Oh my God, I had a Commodore. I had a Commodore 64. Then I had the actual Commodore computer. It was amazing, and it kind of didn't go very far. That's like the ColecoVision. Like I had a ColecoVision. Even I'll look it up for sure. So that was my thank Audrey. Great question. I didn't have. It's amazing how a question can just go into so many tangents, right? But yeah, Abraxas was a character in a lot of stuff. I don't know if he was in a lot. He had his own story, but he was pivotal in heavy metal when he came out. I think he was the catalyst for a lot of stories, for a lot of characters, because of just how well it was done. Not to mention the heavy metal. I was the kid who collected Omni. If you're old enough to know what Omni was, that magazine, you're about my age. I collected Omni for the articles. I was that kid. But heavy metal, I collected heavy metal ever since it came out. Wasn't supposed to because I was too young, but heavy metal had some great art and some great stories in it. And many of the artists that were featured in heavy metal, even before the movie came out, because the first movie was awesome. I think there was a second movie. I don't remember watching the second movie, but the first movie was really good. I mean, now the animation's dated, obviously, but when they came out, it was cutting edge. And Heavy Metal was an amazing magazine because it just exposed you to different kinds of art and storytelling. And so I guess even that figured in how I became who I became as an author, because you have this really wide um, array of influences, and they all kind of mix and match, and they kind of make this, you know. Zork was, let me tell you, Zork was an amazing game. There's Zork and Zork 2. I don't know if there's a Zork 3, but I know I played Zork, Zork 2. And Zork, when it came out, was whoa. It was this whole thing because you had to think, you know? I don't know what question I'm avoiding. I'm not avoiding any question. Am I avoiding the question? No. So the answer to Audrey's question is I did not have any crush on anyone. I was a crushee, which is what I said in the beginning. I was the crushee. I wasn't the crusher. So there you go. Yeah, Omni was a great. I'm sad that it's gone, but it was a great. It really opened a whole lot of like ideas to a young mind like mine, and I would grab Omni and read it through, and be like, wow, this is amazing. A lot of stuff that was Omni came to pass. Obviously, happened because it was cutting edge sci-fi, but a lot of it was theoretical, and just to get you to think about that stuff. This is why I always have a love for sci-fi, and then I really should write some blackjack. So I don't know if I won't be able to fit it in this year, but I'll definitely put it in next year and get some blackjack done, because the whole concept of sci-fi has always been near and dear to my heart, you know. So yeah. Oh man, Sorayama. Jeez, that's I have a book somewhere of just his art, which is amazing, because Sorayama was, forget it. He was what he did for that form of art, and it was like airbrush art, and the way how he depicted the robots, it was incredible. It was, to this day, I don't think anyone has ever been able to match him in that innovative creativity, because Sorayama, there people study Sorayama now to get that technique because it was so amazing. That would make us all omnivores. No, it's not Wednesday, it's Friday. So yeah, go get your coat for sure. All right, guys, we've got to go. I mean, I could stay here all day with you guys, reminiscing and trying to jog my memory about my robot that's somewhere. I'm gonna find it. You know, I'm gonna find it now. But you guys, this is awesome. This is amazing. And going back to memory lane for Omni and heavy metal, I used to go to Forbidden Planet in New York. That was a young person's dream when it came to comics and anything related to art. And I used to take my little brother there because he was an artist, and he still has an amazing talent. And Forbidden Planet was the place to go. And if you had ever went to the Comic Cons in New York, you would go to the Comic Cons and then you go to Forbidden Planet. It was incredible. But yeah, so weekend is starting. We gotta wrap this up. I wish we didn't have to because we could go hours like this. Thank you all for being here today. You guys are amazing. Remember my 3 Bs, right? Be kind, be unstoppable, be uncommon. I'm not wearing my be uncommon because we're not doing CWWs, but be uncommon is really the most important one of those. Well, actually, all 3 equally important. You want to be kind because it doesn't cost anything to be kind. You want to be unstoppable because no one should be able to stop you. And you want to be uncommon because there's only one you in the entire universe, which is amazing, right? So always remember that. Now, give me a number from 1 through 7, and let's close it out with a theme song. So the first 10 people, there's 14 here. So 1 through 7, and let's see which number wins. Thank you so much, Audrey, for the questions. They're fantastic. They always enhance the episode. So thank you for submitting your questions. And if you want to submit questions and want to be as cool as Audrey, please do. She kind of has a monopoly on the questions now. So hey, she has a title. So there you go. But feel free to add questions. If you have questions about the stories, about the books, if I can answer them, I will. Like in the case of Divine Hell, and they were asking when it was coming out. But if you have any story questions, please do. If you have questions about writing, ask them as well. I'll try to answer them as to the best of my ability and with my limited knowledge, because I do not know everything about writing. I only know my little corner of writing. Sci-fi was my first love. Yeah, it was my first love too. I mean, I grew up with Asimov and Heinlein and Harlan Ellison, and like you mentioned most of the Frank Herbert and all these fantastic sci-fi authors who formed and shaped my brain. So yes, thank you guys for being here. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you're not already, and share when you can our MoB Kaffeeklatsch episodes. Have a great and wonderful weekend, and give me a number from 1 to 7. Let's go. 10 of you. Let's go. I need 10 numbers from 1 to 7. Sci-fi was my first love. Frazetta's Boris. Oh yeah, Frazetta and Boris, I think, will always have a place at the top of that epic fantasy world in terms of art. Frank Frazetta, I believe, has a museum. Boris Vallejo also, I believe, has a museum. Their artwork is incredible. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they hold the top place pretty much forever. Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Great summation of what writing is. We're gonna have to include that somewhere as to what writing is in a really succinct and just a really quick summary of this is what writing is. I'm gonna put that somewhere. Yeah, the square root of 5. Thanks, Anthony. That helps. Connie, it's always good to see you. Thank you for being here. Bye, Dawn. Say hello to the crew, please. So when you guys form your questions, Dawn, I always look forward to them. Have a great weekend, everyone. I'll give much love to the tribe, Marie. Thank you. I will. Yes, the square root of 5. You're very welcome, Connie. Let's see what I'm saying. 4, 1, 7, 7, 5, 2. Let's go. A few more, guys. Before you go, drop a number if you haven't already. No repeat numbers. I know some of you are sneaky. I don't see any other numbers. You see any other numbers after Anthony's square root of 5 and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5. I'm not even gonna count Anthony's square root of 5. Okay. 2. Fine. 2 times 2, or the square root of 5 is 2.
So it's a 2.
It's a 2. Okay. And Dawn says 2, unless she's saying bye also. I'm gonna count it as a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Do you want to add a number? I'm going to add a number.